My name is Philip. I'm with Maltego since 2018 when we took over Maltego, the highly successful product for link analysis from the fantastic founders. And we've been building out Maltego as an organization since then and are really excited to share very important news with you today.
I'm Ben, CTO here at Maltego. Been building out the tech organization for the last 3 years. Super excited about what we've got today, and the future is going to be pretty amazing. Philip, the OSINT industry is changing rapidly. What's coming? What are we tracking?
Yeah, so OSINT obviously really became a thing in the last 2 years. It's a really important data category, which consists of highly diverse and dynamic data. And it's important to have tools that allow a broader and broader group of investigators to work with that data and to have tools that cover different use cases, whether it's deep investigations or live monitoring. And Maltego is really looking to provide a platform that has all of those capabilities all in one place. So when we're talking about all in one place, what have you been hearing from customers, users throughout the years, what they actually need, how their life as an investigator looks right now, and how do we address it?
So I think you hit on it. We've got this OSINT industry with data coming from all kinds of sources, all kinds of forms. We've got diverse investigators with skill sets all across the map. We've got organizations that not only want to look at OSINT, but also want to involve internal data, other investigative sources into this, ideally one tool where they can work on everything in one place. It's really about getting all the pieces into a form where they're consistent and holistic, and you can look at the whole picture in one place.
Yeah, I think what we repeatedly heard was that I have so many tabs open. There are I almost have a tool fatigue. So how can you address that?
The world we're in right now is really tab driven. It's a standing joke in the industry of, you've only got 4,000 tabs open. You can't be very good at what you do. The reality is, every tool, every investigation, you're popping multiple pieces. So really what we're trying to do is get to a place where all the data you need to perform that investigation is available in one place. And in Maltego, in our all-in-one platform, we've got multiple ways to look at that data, multiple approaches, but it's all in the same environment. It's one place, one starting point where you make all these connections and bring the information that you need together.
Maltego brought link analysis to cybersecurity and later to cybercrime investigations and really changed the game with that. So Maltego really is known for being the tool to go to if you need to solve complex problems and cases. Maltego is also notoriously almost known for being this really powerful, but still Java-based product. So how do we approach this? How is this changing now?
Yeah, a couple threads there, kind of all at the same time. It's a complicated thing. It's taken us a while to get here, and it's because we've been kind of thinking carefully about all those pieces. One, Java-based desktop application. That's a hard no for some people. That's a very difficult ask for some IT teams. So everything's moving to the browser. You're going to have the same capability and flexibility you had. You're also going to have a lot of the same sensibility in terms of, when you're working in a graph in Maltego, in the browser, all that work is happening on your machine. You're not outsourcing your investigation. You're doing the work. It's happening locally. The data is on your machine. Obviously the transforms and the other data you pull in are coming from the various sources, but you're doing the work. So, we thought very carefully about what do investigators need in terms of security and privacy. In terms of capabilities, we also know that we've got to scale that out. So not only do we have link analysis, we've got new views, table, map, timeline, as well as histogram. These are things that, as a Maltego user for many years, these have been on my wish list. I've joked with the team that I've been asking for these things for years. They're here now. The map view is a thing. It is part of the new browser-based graph, and as is timeline and everything else. So we're expecting One, a huge burst in productivity. We're also expecting a burst in velocity. So the ability to change the application. So, updating a Java application is a heavy burden for us as an engineering team. There's a lot of, quality control and testing and validation we have to do to confirm that the application we're about to deploy isn't going to cause a problem. A lot of those specific challenges are taken care of by the browser, right? The browser is going to do a lot of that. Is the application suitable for deployment on its own? So now we can focus on the capabilities and the features that the users have access to. The other thing we're looking at carefully is you know, seasoned investigators have pulled me aside privately and told me exactly what they're going to do to me if I take away their power and their capability that they have in the current application. At the same time, we want to make this accessible and available to a broad array of users and investigators. So we're trying to straddle that line of adding new capability, adding new power to the tool without taking away the ability for a power user to just solve their cases and move on to the next one.
Yeah, the entire idea behind Maltego One, as we name the browser-based platform, is really to bring those capabilities all together in one accessible platform, so that more users can solve complex cases,
Yeah.
right? So now an organization can have entire teams on that platform. We have search that has been hugely successful over the last years for us to bring investigation capabilities really to broader teams and analysts. And those analysts now can just with one click pivot to the next application and open it in Graph and can start going really, really deep, basically do specific pivots that they couldn't do before.
Well, this is unlocking a whole new class of collaboration. In the past, you would save a Maltego graph, hand it off to somebody else, and they'd also open it in Maltego graph and do whatever they were going to do. Search allows, a novice user or a very busy senior user to very quickly jumpstart an investigation to go from I have one indicator to at least I have a starting point. And then they get to choose what environment they want to work that in. Is this a temporal case? Is this a geographic case? Is this a combination of the two? Is this link analysis? What tool do I need to move this case forward? And now it's no longer tied to that one user. You can now bring in other investigators on the same case and scale that out. So it's a game changer.
Getting the entire team together in one case, working on investigation, I think is the game changer. We can have teams that focus on the quick KYC problems, just footprinting a domain or also a group and people. And then we have people who go deeper and really see the connections that they don't get from the usual tools and analytics.
What customer needs and requirements shaped the vision for Maltego One?
Really bringing it all together in one platform. So on the one hand, obviously use cases become more and more diverse, and with it also the teams and the analysts that work on those cases. So you need different apps, all fit to purpose, but interconnected. The other thing that you need to integrate is the data. So you need to really have all the relevant data in a reliable and responsible way, and then accessible just with one package. And that's what Maltego One now does. And that simplicity, getting onboarded quickly, and enabling more people to solve complex cases is really what organizations need. We talked about what organizations need, that they need simplicity, that they want larger teams to be able to do investigations. When we really go into how investigations are run, especially around complex cases where you don't know where your search is going, where you have hundreds of different data points that you could go into. Like, let's talk about how Maltego has really changed the game now with this release of how we bring data together, make it accessible in our transfer menu, and how we then bring it to the graph to get the fuzzy brain power of the human going and solve cases with pattern recognition.
Yeah, I think there are a couple key pieces there. One is the new ontology and the new data model. Maltego has been well known for the data model for many years. We've decided to take the next step there. So in a world where seasoned Maltego investigators have their preferred list of transforms they want to run, um, we want to enable users without that level of experience to get the same level of success. So what we're doing is rethinking how we approach this. Those old transforms will still exist. That's not going anywhere. But we've kind of unlocked a new level here, which is instead of knowing that I need this particular vendor to get this particular data point to the next step, we've mapped it all into an ontology, meaning the data model itself understands that from this data point, I can get to these other data points. So, let's take, for example, a person. A person can have a phone number, an email address, a home address, a full name, whatever. So you start with that person as an entity. In the past, that entity would include some properties and link to other entities that also include properties. In this new approach, that one person entity now includes other entities of different properties. So it could include the phone numbers, maybe multiple phone numbers, one for mobile, one for home, one for work. It can include an address, things like. So we now have this rich entity with all the information about that person. And then you can run transforms on that person. If it has phone numbers in it, you can run the transforms related to phone numbers on that person. So you now no longer have to kind of think through, all right, I've got a person, I need to go to a phone number to run this next transform. You can just run it. The other powerful piece here is that you're not necessarily looking for, which specific transform do I run? You can now think of it in terms of what data point do I want next? I've got this person. Let me see what I can get for phone numbers. Let me see what I can get for email addresses. I've got email addresses. Let me see what I can get for breach data. But now that doesn't expand necessarily into this massive graph about one person. You've got a very rich person. Now you can drill in and see all that detail, but it's also kind of abstracted. So when you zoom out and look at the whole picture, you're starting to see those connections, but they're not burdensome. They're not filling the graph.
I think that is a key point. So how do you bring one very necessary, the diverse data set, together with the other necessary, which is having a simple and intuitive access to these diverse data sources. And what you will find now with Maltego graph in the browser is that the transform menu is just so clean. It's very intuitive. It's sorted by really the categories of data that you need. And it still gives you that breadth of data sources with our valued data partners, and all in a way that you can easily go through your case. The second point that you mentioned was really about the data model, that it all now merges together. So they're not two Facebook profiles by different vendors, but they all get together. So you get actually the meaningful merges. So that is a real game changer. And the last thing that I think will really blow the mind of people is when they see how the new graph actually builds in a really streaming way. Results coming in as they come back from the sources, and then build the graph in a really intuitive way with clusters and really a new way of seeing those patterns.
I think the other thing we should talk about at this point is, not only do we have the new data model and the ontology, but we've also, part of this release is a new AI graph assistant.
Yeah, it is coming. AI is coming to Maltego.
Now, this is something we thought very carefully about, right? I've talked to a lot of investigators. I've talked to a lot of people in the field, and many of them ask kind of the same question: is like, am I going to be in a position as an investigator using this tool to, have knocked down the wrong door at 4 a.m? And the short answer is no. This is not a tool intended to replace the investigator. At Maltego, that's our obsession, is empowering and enabling that investigator to perform at their peak with the best capabilities possible. So we're not gonna automate the investigator out of that loop. That doesn't make any sense in the long run. What we are going to do is really enable the investigator to work faster, new investigators to jumpstart faster. Imagine now you can ask the tool, hey, what next step should I try? You could also ask it, hey, what can I infer from these connections? And we've worked really hard to to bound the tool in such a way that the answers are framed in terms of what you can really understand, and we're working hard to map it in with the data models so that the semantic meaning of those connections is passed all the way through into the AI engine.
Yeah, I'm extremely proud of the team, how we really took a measured approach, but also now have a really powerful outcome with regards to how we get AI into our products. We had made already really positive experience with AI in Monitor,
Yeah.
where it was introduced last year and has been instrumental in helping analysts really condense the stream of social media and news feeds in a very short period of time to get on top of situations. So we already knew how powerful those LLMs will be to help humans to comprehend large amounts of texts, get semantics out of it, get sentiments. So that was already one path that we knew would be very, very powerful. And now we bring that content analysis to the graph. So imagine that you have your network of groups, and then you can just pivot to getting all of the messages. And instead of going one by one through those messages, trying to understand the content, now you can interact with that in a chat interface. You select the messages, and you get a summary of what they're about and what could be next points to go off of. So content analysis is one really important topic. And you already touched on another one, is really how do you augment the investigation flow with recommender systems for investigators, all in a chat interface. And that's also what Maltego brings to Graph now.
It's worth mentioning, the tool is very specifically designed to be investigator-led, meaning, Clippy does not pop up and offer advice. You have to ask for it, and it is something you can turn off if, from a regulatory or operational perspective, it's not something you can do. It's easy to disable. So.
Yeah. So again, a measured approach, how we bring AI into our products. At the same time, we obviously see the potential and want to bring recommender systems, content analysis, and then more and more also an interaction with an agent that helps you actually perform tasks in your investigation. So very excited about the opportunities. At the same time, making sure that the investigator is in control, that the organization has all the controls in place to keep data safe and within the analysis. So I'm really happy about the approach and the outcome that we achieved.
Very exciting.
Yeah, Ben, this has been long in the making. So let's talk a bit about that process, right? And 3 years ago, we sat down and said, okay, look, we have so many sketches, we have POCs in place. Like, how do we now bring this to the customers? Do we release something fast, quick and dirty, or do we really build it from the ground up? Can you talk a bit about the process and the considerations behind how we got the browser platform as a total now into the market?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is critical. We've been, thinking carefully about this for a very long time. It would be easy to kind of rush something out to market. At the end of the day, I think of Maltego as kind of dial tone for cybersecurity investigators, right? It has to be there. It has to work. I hear plenty of stories about, the cases we've enabled and empowered. And the last thing we want to do is provide substandard capabilities and impact those investigations negatively. So we took a very holistic, very kind of long arc approach. We started with authentication and authorization. So Maltego ID that we launched a while ago really sets the framework and sets the foundation, moving from license keys, getting single sign-on, all the table stakes you need from an organization to be able to effectively adopt a tool like this. That's all in place. That was first. Then really kind of thoughtfully mapping out how we were going to get into the browser, how all these pieces stack together. Are they separate applications? Are they one application? So we've kind of carefully thought through that. How do these applications link together? One of the things we haven't mentioned yet, cases, end-to-end encrypted from the beginning. I gave the team part of the design brief was, look, I'm going to get phone calls saying, here's a subpoena. I need research data, investigative data from this customer. And my brief to the team was, look, I want end-to-end encryption, and I want to be able to say, it's a lawful subpoena. Here's the data. I can't do anything with it. The customer is the only one with the key. And that's a powerful message. It's complicated in that, it would be very easy to store it all plain text and do all kinds of really neat, flashy integrations with it. But at the end of the day, the important thing here is that our customers can be confident that only the people they authorize see those cases. Other pieces involved here, we've taken on some acquisitions since we started that process. And thankfully, because we laid out this long-term architecture, they slot in very nicely. They become new widgets and new links from the all-in-one platform. And it just continues to grow seamlessly. So, as we continue to bring those integrations closer to Maltego, what you're going to see is data integrations getting more and more robust and more seamless. So, literally clicking on something in Monitor and opening a search investigation or a graph investigation just based on clicking on an indicator, where those become kind of seamless activities, and you're throwing investigations back and forth between the various members of your team just naturally, as simple as a chat message.
Yeah, Ben, in the process of us bringing Maltego capabilities to the browser, we often talked about the iceberg, right? That we are working beneath the surface, that we do entitlements, authentication, who sees what, critical when you have both critical, sensitive external data, but especially when you have internal data.
Yeah.
Then how do you encrypt the transfer? How do you encrypt your own data? And us really focusing on that and being the first to bring that actually to that kind of investigation platform. That really was the iceberg that we've been building for years underneath to have a platform in which we can now slot in all different kind of use cases and apps. And we launched search, we launched cases, and now we have graph in the browser as another capability that really integrates neatly. So very excited to have the iceberg now surface. We're excited for our users to try it out, but it's just the beginning, because what
I was going to say, there's still a lot of ice under the water. There's a lot of infrastructure there that we've thought through what these things will enable down the road. I'm not going to talk too much about what's under the hood and what's coming, but we've got a lot of exciting capability still to come. A lot of architecture that's going to allow us to continue to scale, make collaboration better, make user interaction better, and make investigations faster, more efficient, more effective. We also spend a lot of time looking at the data we bring in. There are some really powerful questions right now in various parts of the world around the regulatory, legal, ethical considerations of various sources of data. One of the things we've had to wrestle with as part of this whole longitudinal process is, how do we build the most robust suite of data that everybody can use? And the way we approach that is really giving everybody the control to be able to say, because of my legal framework or because of my compliance organization, I can't use that particular piece of data, so I'm going to turn that off. My users don't see it. And that allows us to offer data pass and have the whole suite of data capability available to everybody, depending on obviously vetting level and things like that. But it's available, and it's just a question of which environments and which users. In some cases, organizations have multiple teams, and the different teams have different statutory or legal requirements of what they can see and what they can do. So having building out Maltego ID and all of the admin infrastructure to allow an organization to say, this group has this data, this group has this data, this group is not allowed to see any of these things over here. That's one of the big complicated pieces under the hood. It's really not obvious, but it's really powerful in what it's enabling us to do.
We're extremely proud of the track record of more than 10 years of Maltego now, already supporting really critical missions for impactful organizations, ranging from commercial, but also obviously in fighting cybercrime, and increasingly also defense in the critical missions that we're facing today. In those critical missions, you already talked about the importance of sovereignty and where the data is actually managed and hosted.
Yeah.
And that is really also something that we put a lot of effort in,
Yes.
so that we have region-specific hosting and can run those applications in those legislations that are suitable for our really diverse and global customer base.
Yeah, super important. At the moment, we've got two primary regions. We've got one in the US and one in the EU. But this is a construct that's easy to scale. So if we find ourselves in a situation where we have customers who need data residency somewhere else, that's something we can definitely we can offer that. That's a add one versus a re-architecture. So yeah, that was a big piece last year of working out. It's like how do we split this up? How do we provide a seamless experience while still allowing a customer to kind of designate where they want the data residency? Primarily, right now the applications. Most of the data is stored in your browser unless you explicitly say you want it stored somewhere else, and that somewhere else can be now one of these two regions. Beyond that, we've added, the majority of the infrastructure is available in both regions. And, that also gives us some redundancy for the users where it's not specifically required. Philip, if you could give customers one reason to be excited about the Maltego One launch, what would it be?
Yeah, more users can solve complex cases. We have so many users that have been using search over the last 1 and 2 years, and they've been really happy with the easy access to these vast data sources. And what we bring to those users is that they can now pivot off a search result and go really deep. And that is way more accessible for them than it was ever before. And that is really exciting. It gives powerful analytic capabilities to more users, and this will allow organizations to solve even more complex cases. With the launch of Search 2 years ago, Maltego made person of interest investigations really simple and accessible to more and more users. And this was also for us now the jump-off point to bring Graph to those users. So what those users will find is that they can easily go from a search result and move over to the more advanced capabilities of Graph. And there they find a very clean transform menu selected for the most important data points that you need for person of interest investigation. That includes obviously all sorts of people information from our trusted and important data partners, but also network data that is needed to resolve an IP address or to really understand that context of that person. And what those users will find is that those transforms are organized in a way that they can understand them, that they immediately find what they're looking for, and that those transforms are actually more powerful than before because they work similar as a machine. So you can get more results back in a really efficient way. So maybe we can talk about those changes underneath the hood a bit more. The protocol on which the transforms run has been revamped silently, also for the desktop client, but is actually really game-changing and accelerates and amplifies the user experience and makes investigations more easy. How does that protocol change actually work, and what do users get out of it?
So one of the first things we refactored as part of this plan, this grand plan that gets us to the Maltego One launch. This was, I don't know, two years ago, was really rethinking the Maltego Transform protocol. This is the lifeblood of the Graph application, and it has been scaling and touching all the other areas of Maltego tools. And it's really the idea, very simply, take what I know about an entity, query something, get more information back, and build my knowledge graph, expand what I know about the case. The protocol was very simple to begin with, and it's all it needed to be for many years. You query about one entity and get information back in the form of entities connected to it. This worked really well. So the new protocol gives us the ability to send an entire subgraph to the transform server. So not only are you asking about one entity, but you could be asking 5 or 6, 100, and they could have interconnections between them. And the transform can actually observe and detect connections, detect these links and the details and the properties, and figure out all the details it needs to perform a more complex query. So the idea is not only are we looking at, you know, Philip Mayrhofer as an entity, but maybe connected to Maltego and a phone number. You could use this for a number of things. One, you could use it to expand a filter, right? If I search Philip Mayrhofer, I'm getting a bunch of names back. If I search Philip Mayrhofer in Munich at Maltego, that's going to be a much more precise response. But that's native. You don't have to. You no longer have to answer questions about filling in the details to filter it down. You just select the subset of information that you're interested in, and that goes off. So the fact that the transforms can now reason about the graph, I've got transforms that, like, I can select a large graph and find me the shortest path between these two. So analytical tools can come out of this. There's also the output. So the idea before, you could query the Philip Mayrhofer entity and get information back about you. Now I can return an entire graph. I could map out, all the organizations you've ever been involved with. I could map out, a network of friends from social media and their friends and their friends. So like my favorite example there is blockchain work. In the old protocol, you'd have to click on a transaction, run a transform, you'll get a transaction back. Click on that, and then you get kind of slowly build out the graph. I can now say, do 20 layers. Give me the whole map. Or if you're plotting out a network, another example would be the layer 1 footprint machine in Maltego in the graph application. That could be a transform now, right? And it could return all that depth and all that richness as one response. I think we've mentioned it before. The other key piece of this protocol is the ability to stream. So this is the fact that before, you'd run the transform, when the result was complete, you'd get it back. We're in a world where big data is a thing, AI is a thing. These tend to take much longer to respond. So you can start a transform now, and it can take seconds, minutes, hours, could be days. There are scenarios where I want to watch a stream of data and let me know if one of my keywords shows up. You can do that in a transform now. You can run that transform and it will just sit in the background, and anytime data appears, it will show up. So it's not waiting for the task to complete. It's actually continuously monitoring that channel. So those three kind of key functions really make the new transform protocol in itself a game changer. And now adding on top of that, access in the browser, all the data, all the, the new ontology, kind of, we've been building these pieces and stacking them up slowly, carefully. And now it's all kind of coming out in one big chunk.
Now, for us, really the game changing is that we now have this in a browser tech platform, which will allow us to really iteratively improve the way investigations are run. And this is really science and art at the same time. And in our approach of now rolling this out, for us, it was a very conscious decision to focus on clarity and smoothness of investigation for the broader analyst group that we now have acquired over the last years, and give them, for the first time, really sophisticated tooling around person of interest investigations. And that you will find in the tool. With the new architecture, with the ontology, we will now continuously add additional use cases and bring more and more data sources to the hub and the transforms in the browser, and that will expand the use cases bit by bit. But always the focus will be on clarity, on smooth experience, on really making it easy to solve complex cases, because that is critical for organizations. Only then they can really cope with all the diversity and exploding kind of problem sets that they're facing. Yeah, Ben, we can also talk a bit about the operations of Maltego One, obviously cloud hosted, and what can you tell us about our approach and how that ties in with what we've been doing so far?
Absolutely. So, right off the bat, we've already mentioned we're provisioned in multiple regions. We've got a dedicated DevOps team that runs the platform. They're very good at what they do, and architecture, as we said, has been a key part of this design process to make sure we've got things that are reliable, manageable, and we can maintain them effectively. We have plenty of experience working with customers in their on-premise environments. Sometimes we can help, sometimes we have to kind of support from afar. But through that, we've gained quite a bit of experience in terms of how to operate those reliable environments that don't need a lot of care and feeding, so to speak. Like I said, we've got a team monitoring, we've got a team keeping track of what's going on and how it's working. And that's something that's kind of baked into the architecture, is the ability to, take the various pieces, and, depending on the customer, it may be mission critical enough that they want to run it in their environment. We're using pretty standard technologies, so it's containerized, and we can deploy things where they need to be deployed, and interconnect them in a way that gives the customer what they need. It's kind of a tricky balance with OSINT, right? So you've got these data sources all over the place. You're asking the internet questions. You're either asking a data provider or you're asking directly to the source. So it's not, while Maltego Graph is something you could air gap and run only on internal data. We have customers that do that. Really, the best experience, the most rich experience comes when you've got a trusted environment to operate in. You're confident with the security, and you have the ability to reach out and bring that data in. So we've been working hard to kind of get the best of both worlds here. The whole platform is ISO 27001 certified, the whole organization, and we spent a lot of time making sure that we're doing the right things and making an environment that is safe and secure.
Yeah, with regards to operations, I'm really proud of the team because we really have been balanced both deployment modes over the last years.
Yes.
For the last 2 years, we've already been operating search in a cloud hosting environment. And at the same time, we help customers maintain and host Maltego deployments on their on-prem. And really being able to do both reliably with high quality is something that I think also only Maltego brings to the market, to be able to run the easy and fast OSINT searches and those investigations in the cloud, but have the ability to run really critical, sensitive investigations in an on-prem environment. And that is really what Maltego has been doing for the last 2 years, and we're very proud of bringing those two worlds together.
Yeah, I mean, our uptime and reliability is top shelf. It's very rare I see an uptime report that doesn't start with 100%. We think very carefully about this and, have the right redundancies in place. So that's powerful.
And we're super excited about what we bring to the market now, and it really makes the experience for so many users faster, more easy, but also more powerful. But what is planned for the future? Like, what are the next steps of evolution for the Maltego platform?
Absolutely. Good question. So the majority of the work in Graph Browser today is really tied to person of interest. That was the primary focus, to kind of get the mechanics of the ontology and the composed entities right. So big obvious next step there is scaling out to CTI, corporate data, all the other data types that we interact with and beyond. We want the ontology to be a living, breathing thing where it can grow and scale, but we also want to make sure that we don't, create any new dead ends along the way. So it's, kind of very, very structured growth to bring in those other data types and really provide the same level of detail for those other capabilities. So today, search has kind of a default set of search capabilities, and the transforms we're providing are kind of the generic base set. Customization is really one of the next things that comes in here. So it's actually very easy from our perspective, from a technical perspective, to create new search profiles that would search on new data points or new data sources as a whole. So if a customer had specific internal data sources and they wanted to be able to run a search recipe or Maltego transforms, we do that now in the Java application, but that's one of the next things coming in the browser-based application is really that ability to bring in customer data, bring in custom data, and then combine those in kind of custom environments with custom workflows built on top of it.
What sets Maltego really apart as investigation platform is really the breadth and the diverse data sources, and that you can handle so many different use cases. Secondly, that you can customize the tool, but also bring in custom sources in a very convenient way. And thirdly, that you can actually bring on-prem deployment methods and own data in. And we're super excited to be able to bring all of these to also Maltego One in the browser in 2026.
On-prem is another kind of key component. The need has evolved over time. I think we're seeing different customers with different sets of concerns. I'm seeing a lot of customers that I never would have expected to be comfortable with cloud environment digging in and going full cloud. But I'm also seeing other customers who seem to be headed cloud, really seriously thinking about, maybe we want to do this on-prem. So the whole architecture is structured in such a way that we can do that. And it's a custom conversation of, when is that needed and what makes the most sense. Again, there's that interesting balance of, where is the data? How is it accessed? And what controls and requirements have to be wrapped around it. But we're, frequently working with customers to kind of solve those challenges and meet those needs. All right, Philip, there is a lot of hype floating around AI right now. I'm curious on what your perspective is and how you cut through the noise and kind of think about where it's going and where it's going to be.
Yeah, so generally, I'm very proud and happy about the approach that we've taken over the last 2-3 years. I believe that the outcome that we now have with our AI chat assistant being launched on Maltego One, we have a great outcome that will be very valuable to investigators, especially in content analysis, but also in recommender system situations. At the same time, we have taken a very measured approach and not just put out a POC or first product within the first 6 months. For us, it was important to make sure that we have sovereignty of the data, that we keep the investigator in control of which data to pull in and which data to send where. And then obviously, in the end, it really needs to deliver value. Like if you just throw something out that people get frustrated after a couple of chats, then it's just not gonna be helping anyone. So very happy about how we have approached it over the last 2-3 years. We have a research team that has actually been doing AI when it was
Before it was cool.
it was actually called linear programming back then. And we're super excited to really combine the foundational aspects of understanding recommender systems and the LLMs behind it, but also now really merging it with the experiences that our SMEs made over the last years with what tools can really help an investigator, and bring this all together now in one platform. And very excited to start implementing this and bringing it to more and more spaces. Yeah, there's no question that the AI will reshape how investigations are done. At the same time, it's really important to roll this out in a measured way. So what we're trying to combine is really how do we enable the judgment and also the ethics and the adherence to just clear rules that humans are really good at, with the automation powers and the acceleration that you can get from AI or automations. And that is a balance that we are trying to strike and trying to find carefully. But there is no question that those technologies will have an incredible effect in making a lot of things faster and easier. And we're bringing this to the product right now. So the acceleration of an investigation in the person of interest space, where we have mapped out a graph and now are pulling in posts or rich media situations, would have taken days in the past to analyze and really sift through all those messages. Now you literally just select it, you ask the chat agent what those messages are about and what is noteworthy. And within seconds, you have a lead to continue your investigation or maybe exclude an entire group. And that will be extremely valuable for investigators. And we're very confident that we can build out the capabilities of that AI agent in the future and go into recommender systems and other things as well.
I think it's worth mentioning that we are thinking carefully about, what are the various failure modes of using AI in an investigation, and looking carefully at hallucinations and emissions, and there are whole classes of problems that we work through. So, our research team is thinking about that very critically, and we're doing external pen tests and validating this stuff, and doing what we can to make sure that the tools we're putting in investigators' hands are not only highly effective but efficacious. They're doing what it says on the tin, and we're going to continue to work to make sure that the functions that these users are getting, these investigators are being enabled with, add value to the investigation, and not we mentioned it doesn't make sense to just slap an AI label on and say now 20% better, but we've got to make sure that the answers you're getting back catch everything, and how to enable the user to validate what the AI has said. I mean, like you said, it could take days to go through hundreds and hundreds of posts. An AI is going to be really good at kind of summarizing the theme and the line. But if the user is trying to hide information in those posts, that's not something an AI today is going to be able to pick up. So kind of finding that balance of, even as a user, you've got to look at enough of these to kind of see what's going on. At the same time, you can definitely benefit from, summarization and categorization and things like that. So providing the kind of the best of both worlds, the power tools to the investigator, if you will. I think we're really excited about that.
Yeah, I think that's critical, right? So as we launch those AI features, we consciously do this in the beta mode and beta label. It is our goal, not just for the data, but also the tools, that we provide the relevant ones, that are reliable, and that are responsible. And we take that principle very, very serious. And we don't want to really obfuscate the judgment process or the investigation process and provide a flat box. So for us, it's important to get this out. There will be immediate benefit in many areas, such as content analysis, but we also rely on the feedback of the users to tell us what's working, what's not working. And then together we will develop those capabilities further, and we're confident that those capabilities will make the investigator's life more effective and easier. Well, Ben, congratulations. It's been a long time in the making.
It's been a while.
And super excited to get it out. And we'll hopefully hear a lot from our users. And that's the only way that we can improve it. So thanks to the entire team. To your hard work. It's been really, really important, and now excited to see it in the hands of the users.
I'm super proud of the whole team. It's been a really good run up to this release, and we're very excited about that and the future.
Excellent.